Star Wars has been in a very rough place ever since George Lucas sold it to Disney, and even though they promised us years of amazing content and really high quality work, we have gotten the bottom of the barrel, and now it's time for the Acolyte to release, and its trailer is trending on social media for all the wrong reasons. I have a few different things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or through YouTube memberships. Now, we are not very far away from the Acolyte's release, so they've been releasing a lot of teasers, a lot of trailers, and just a lot of PR material because they are desperate to make this show work, even though, of course, Bob Iger has promised that they are focusing on quality over quantity. That still isn't the case because this is a show that should not exist because it makes no sense, okay? This is a female-centric series, which isn't a problem for me. I love seeing a strong female lead, but the issue is the timeline and, of course, it being High Republic, something that, of course, is solely Disney created, but its events are set during the High Republic, which chronicles stories on the Star Wars timeline that take place roughly 500 to 100 years before the Skywalker saga. And in the Acolyte's case, the story actually takes place 100 years before the Phantom Menace. So straight off the bat, they are way too close in timeline, or in events, simply because it's so close to the Phantom Menace. We are talking about a show that probably is going to reference the Skywalker saga and that general time period of Star Wars. While I don't think it would necessarily be awful for a show's setting, I just feel like they are going to have a tricky time dancing around canon, and that means that they either completely respect the existing canon and they really form their show around it, or what we see most typically is that they disregard canon and they just do whatever they want, and then they say, well, it's our own individual story within this world, so we decided to kind of disregard some of the existing content, and I just have a feeling that is going to happen judging by all of the promotional material we've seen so far. But this first official trailer, 1 minute and 45 seconds, is not good. I try to be positive with Star Wars. I really do, because I've loved Star Wars for such a long time, but this just looks like a nightmare. These sets look really, really bad. They look very janky. A lot of the costumes are mediocre, and then we have the cinematography and the choreography, which do not look good. And this right here is truly the worst part of the trailer for me, because they are just going through the motions. They are absolutely heartless in this experience, and I never used to feel that way with Star Wars. I used to feel like the actors really cared about their characters and the choreography, and they just were so passionate. And of course, that hasn't been the case ever since Disney purchased Star Wars, right? Because they have tried over and over to reinvent the wheel with no success, right? They have tried so hard to modernize Star Wars, and it has not worked. And I see shows like The Acolyte releasing, and I just go, ugh, it's going to be another flop. It's going to be another failure, because I could really love Star Wars again, right? If they actually went to telling amazing stories with great characters, and they actually respected the lore and also did not completely trash the fans, I could be on board with Star Wars again like many other people, but I just do not see that happening. I don't see a way for them to save Star Wars at this point. And as you can see, trailers getting absolutely blasted. It's not quite being negatively ratioed, but it's about equal. It's 132,000 likes to 108,000 dislikes, so it's right on that line. The dislikes are soon to surpass the likes because they are moving much, much quicker. But here is just a list of the problems with the Acolyte, because it's not just one mediocre trailer. It is years of interviews and discussions about their plans and what this show really is, and none of them sound good. The Acolyte showrunner Leslie Headland says upcoming Star Wars series will ask whether the bad guys are actually the underdog. I am so sick of this angle. We see it happen so many times. They're not bad, they're just misunderstood. Like, we need villains again. We need bad characters, right? We need these evil characters, whether they're male or female, and not have them have some tragic backstory and say, oh my goodness, they're just misunderstood. Yes, that's fine for some characters, but it's the only tool that Disney has in their arsenal at this point. We also heard the star Jodie Turner-Smith, who of course played Race Swapped Anne Boleyn for the BBC, praising how the series is part of a wave of more inclusive and beautifully represented Star Wars shows. Star Wars has always been inclusive. The problem for these individuals is that they don't actually know the existing material. They don't know the characters that we all maybe grew up with or have loved from the very beginning, and they just do not care about anything except for their project. They only care about the bubble that they are part of and the bubble that they ultimately are getting paid for being part of. And it's just so sad to see, because we could sit here all day and talk about how Star Wars has been diverse and inclusive in the past, but it's just not enough for people like this. They, of course, do not want to show respect for what came before. They only want to denigrate it in order to prop up their own projects. And look at something like this lead character, right? She does not look inspiring at all whatsoever. This is the shot they thought was going to get Star Wars fans interested in this series. Her standing on a cliff, looking ominous with, oh my god, wow, what a strong woman. I wonder what she's doing. Probably thinking about how she's going to fuck up Star Wars even more. It's just so sad to see them time and time again release these mediocre pieces of content and expect us to line up to watch it. When this finally releases, I don't think that it's going to do all that good. I don't think it's going to do what Disney wants, but that's not very shocking to many people. They have tried to release so many series over the years that have just been met with absolute failure. Look at something like Obi-Wan Kenobi. People were so hyped for that when they initially announced it. I was so excited for it, and then it released, and it was the Leia and Reva show. Like, Obi-Wan was not a good character in it. They tried at some points to make him important, but at the same time, he could have been removed entirely from the series, and the series still would have made sense, which is a major issue. And of course, they even changed that show around to be more inclusive and modern, because originally it was supposed to be Obi-Wan and Luke who were the main characters, and then they changed it to Leia, which wasn't the only problem with that series. Again, mediocre choreography and cinematography. I mean, of course, Star Wars now is just this massive pile of CGI rubbish, and while I do think the CGI can look good at times, I just think that they kind of gave up what made Star Wars really unique with some of the sets and, of course, some of the costumes. And overall, Acolyte just looks like it's going to be another show that you might watch once, or you watch clips of on social media, and then you never think about it again. I don't think that they're going to get tons of, spin-offs of this. I think that this is just going to be another major money sink for Disney. It's going to be a failure, and at the end of the day, people are not going to love it. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.